All right, so in this video, I'm gonna go over 10 things that I feel every beginner should know about learning how to oil paint. All right, welcome to Paint Talk, the weekly show where I sit, have a cup of coffee, and just kind of talk about oil painting. If you're new to the channel, then welcome to Paint Coach. My name is Chris Fornatero, and I'm here to help simplify oil painting so that you can get better faster. So if you're just starting to learn how to oil paint, here are a few things that I feel like you should know about. The first is that quantity is more important than quality. When you're first starting, you need to be making a lot of fast, bad paintings. Just accept the fact that it's going to take a lot of paintings to just figure out what you don't know. It's weird because I feel like a majority of learning how to oil paint is mental. It's not necessarily about your physical ability to do things, it's how you see things and how you think about things. And it's going to take a lot of repetitions and practice to get certain ideas and concepts to stick in your head and to make sense. There's really like no way around it. When I'm teaching it to students, I'll say the same things over and over in different ways, like just trying to figure out how to get them to understand it. And I found that there isn't like some magical way, it's just going to take a lot of practice. And one day things will click. All right, second thing is that there's no one right way to oil paint. But that being said, I highly suggest choosing one way and sticking with it for a while. I talked about this before, especially with the internet and you have access to so many different types of painters, it can get very confusing for beginners to know what to do because everybody's doing it differently. Like you watch one person, they use a set of materials and a certain palette, and then you watch somebody else and they use a completely different set of materials, different colors on their palette. This person starts a painting a different way than that person. The problem is that they all work. But if you keep jumping from one to another, you're never gonna really get your feet under you and be able to make steps forward. I feel like it's very tempting and kind of like an easy way out for a student to get to a certain point and then get stuck. But instead of pushing through that, they opt to do, go to somebody else. And they enjoy the benefits of like quick learning because it's different and it's new and you're just gonna make that quick initial progress, but eventually they'll hit a wall again. Instead of pushing through that, they'll go to somebody else. I mean, there's literally endless amounts of painting instruction out there you can keep bouncing to and never really make significant progress. All right, the third thing you should know is that the only opinion of your work that matters is your own. But that being said, you need to develop a fair opinion of your work. This goes both ways. You can't be super critical of your work and just not be happy with anything that you do. That's a quick way to just being completely demoralized and giving up. But on the other hand, you don't want to ignore things that you're not doing well and chalk things up that don't work as just, oh, that's just your style. It's like, oh, that's just different. I mean, it is helpful to get the opinion of instructors and people that are more experienced than you, but they're not always going to be there. And it's very helpful to be able to look at your own work, self-diagnose what's wrong, and make adjustments. And you need to learn how to be honest with yourself when something's working or not working, or when you're trying to push yourself and get better, or when you're just trying to play it safe and stay inside your comfort zone. All right, fourth thing you should know is that you are going to waste a lot of money. You're gonna waste money on materials. You're gonna buy, tubes of paint, colors that you end up seeing that you don't need. Trying mediums and brushes and all this stuff. That's fine. Like, don't let it get you down. Just, learn from it and know like, oh, I'm not gonna buy that next time. And also like time is money. For a short period of time, like I thought, oh, like I'll make all my materials. Like I'll make my own little painting panels. And I did. And then it got to a point where I was like, man, like this is a lot of time and effort. And it's actually kind of worth it just to buy already made like linen panels. And so like, even though it was cheaper to make them, calculating in my time, I was like, oh, like I'm just gonna buy them, and I haven't made a painting panel in years. Also, you're gonna do paintings that don't turn out well. You're gonna buy a big canvas, you're gonna go do a painting on it, and it's not gonna turn out well. Like that's just gonna happen. Don't let it get you down. Just know everybody goes through it. You gotta push through it, learn from your mistakes, and as time goes on and you get better, it will happen less and less. And you'll dial in better, like what to spend your money on, what not to spend your money on. I mean, this goes for instruction as well. There's been, a few painting video tutorials that I bought, and then I was like, I don't think I got much out of that. But on the other hand, there was ones that I bought that I was like, wow, I saved myself years by watching this. I've always said that the term starving artist came about not because artists don't make money, but because art materials are so expensive. All right, number 5. My students are always like surprised when I say this, but you will actually be able to sell your work probably earlier than you think. And if you're thinking like, oh, like how will I know when I can sell my work? You'll know when somebody asks to buy it. Now, assuming that you're showing your paintings to people, if someone asks to buy it, sell it. If someone sees your work and they want to commission you to do something, that means that they like your work enough to pay you for it. The thing about selling your work and commissions and stuff is the only way that you're going to figure out what to charge and how much to sell your paintings for and dealing with clients and stuff is just to actually do it. It's really the only way you're going to learn. So the sooner that you can start getting that practice in of dealing with clients, doing commissions, selling your paintings, shipping your paintings, everything that comes with doing that, the better. I see some people that feel like they need to wait till they get to a certain level to start selling their work. And it's like, well, if people want to buy it, that's when you start. Yeah, you're going to get better. Yeah, you'll look back in a year at something you sold and be like, oh man, I can't believe that person bought that. Like, I'm so much better now. Like, that's going to happen, and that's going to keep happening. Hopefully you keep getting better every year, which means when you look back at your older paintings, they're not going to seem as good, but that's just part of it. A lot of times beginner painters get so focused on their work and their own progress and always trying to get better than they were before that they kind of don't realize how far they've come, and they haven't taken a step back and realized that they've gotten to a certain level that to most people, their work looks good. So don't be surprised if people start asking to buy your paintings or commission you earlier than you think. All right, number 6. There are always going to be ups and downs with learning to oil paint. You can start out the week thinking you're just as good as Michelangelo, but by the end of the week, you're not as good as an elephant. It's always gonna happen. There's always gonna be ups and downs no matter how good you get. And that's a good thing. If you find yourself not having a lot of downtimes, that means that you're probably not getting better and you're just playing it safe and you're staying inside your comfort zone. But don't let the down times get you down. And don't think that any good paintings you had before that were just a fluke. I see that a lot. People think, oh, I'm not really that good. I just got lucky with that one painting and I won't be able to do it again. No, you will. And not only that, you'll be able to make a better painting. You should always think that your best paintings are ahead of you. The important thing is that you can figure out what's not working and fix it, or figure out what skill sets you need to develop to get yourself out of a slump. So don't think that you're gonna get to some level of painting where you're just never gonna make bad paintings and every single painting you do is gonna turn out great. It's not gonna happen. That level doesn't exist. So embrace the bad paintings. As I say, honor the effort. Understand that even when you make a bad painting, you're still getting better. All right, moving on to number 7, which is always be willing to suck. Now, I see this become a big problem with painters that actually have a decent set of skill. They've kind of reached that first level where they can paint something and people are like, whoa, that's really good. And what happens is that they get comfortable there and they don't like the feeling of being a beginner again, which is kind of what happens when you try and push yourself to a new level. When you try and do something you haven't done before, chances are you're not going to be good at it at first. And the thing is that you need to always be trying to push yourself like that. I see a lot of beginners, they kind of get to a certain level where they've developed a decent skill set and they can paint good paintings, and then they get comfortable and they get scared of being a beginner again. Because whenever you push yourself or try new things or try and paint better, you're going to fail. You need to fail to get better. And a lot of people don't like failing. And so they stay where they are because, they're pretty good. People look at their work, oh, you're good at painting. And they don't want to have that feeling again of making bad paintings. I know this, I went through the exact same thing. I could paint landscapes in my studio, really well. But when I would go out and plein air paint, it would turn out bad every single time. And it was very uncomfortable to go out there and plein air paint. And there'd be periods of time when I just wouldn't want to do it. I'd stay in and I'd, just paint in my studio and I'd paint paintings and they turn out good and people would like them. But when I look back, the long periods of time when I'm painting good paintings are the periods of time when I saw the least amount of progress. All right, number 8. Don't worry about being unique. I get a lot of people oh, I want to develop a unique style or paint a subject in a unique way or this or that. And they really haven't acquired that much technical skill. And I always say, if you really want to be unique, be really good. That will make you very unique. Being really good will separate you enough from everybody else. Now, I'm not saying don't try and do something different. If you want to do something, if you feel compelled to paint a certain style or paint a certain subject in a certain way, do it. But just be aware if you're doing it to just try and be different and trying to mask the abilities that you lack. If you're trying to paint something and make it look really different, but you don't have the technical skill to go with it, you run the risk of your paintings looking like you're leaning too hard like on a gimmick or a style and not just good solid painting. All right, number 9 is don't learn to paint just one thing. Learn to paint, especially at the beginning. Be painting different subjects. Don't think that you need to learn how to paint one thing before learning how to paint another thing. That's not really how it works. Actually rotating between different subjects, I feel like, speeds up your rate of progress, because some things will click for you better doing landscapes than portraits, and some things will click more for portraits than landscapes, and maybe something else clicks with still lifes. So maybe you can learn something in still lifes that you probably couldn't in landscapes. So once you go and learn that, then you can bring it back over to your landscapes and improve your landscapes. And I always say, like, no matter what you're painting, it all comes down to like understanding the fundamentals of oil painting. Things like value, drawing, color, simplification, stuff like that, which can be found in any subject. And I know there's like a lot of books and videos and tutorials out there, like learn how to paint landscapes, learn how to paint trees, learn how to paint faces, this and that. All that stuff is good and it's helpful, but I feel like a lot of that is for like after you get a good base, solid foundation of just learning how to paint in general. So keep that in mind when you are taking in that information, that it's not just good for what you're learning how to paint there, like you can apply that to other subjects. All right, and the last thing, which is probably the most important thing, is that there is no better feeling than looking back at older work and seeing how far you've come. It'll really give you the feeling that you can do anything. But the only way that you're gonna get there is if you put in the practice. You know, starting right now, if you keep practicing, you practice hard for a year, and a year from now, you're gonna look back at a painting you did today and be like, wow, like I can't believe I've come that far. But if you don't put in that time and that effort and that practice and really push yourself, you're not gonna see that great of an improvement. But if you do, and you do see that improvement, it's gonna build on itself, because then you're gonna be even more motivated to practice and get better. And you're gonna practice and get better even more. And it's gonna keep building and building, and you're gonna get better at painting. And the better you get, the more fun you're gonna have. And the more fun you have, the more you're gonna paint. And the more you paint, the better you get. So it's just like a good cycle that gets going. All right. Hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. If you want to see what I'm painting on a daily basis, you can follow me on Instagram at Forza43. I'm Chris Fornatero here telling you to go get painting.